Just got back from my run. I thought it'd be a really good idea to go through the difference between classic running shoes, trainers, and we're going to look at the Kipran €28 pair of trainers from Decathlon and Vivo Barefoot, okay, more like 100 to 120 pounds pair of shoes. The main differences between trainers and barefoot shoes, we'll go through the trainers to start with. If we have a look from the top, we can see it's quite a pointed end here. We've got a lot more cushioning, and typically we've got, well, a bigger heel. So the heel drop, or the gradient from your heel to your toes, is going to be, I think with these, at least 4 or 5 millimeters, and that basically just means that my heel is higher than my toes in the shoe. With the shape of the front, you can see it's quite pointed, which from feeling as well does narrow the toes a little bit, okay? It makes for a smaller, we call it the toe box, okay? It scrunches those toes together, so you can imagine those toes narrowing a little bit with wearing them regularly. The breathability and the comfort of these was fantastic. Generally the grip was great. It was a nice dry run. I did a trail run, but everything felt good today. And I'd say the comfort was really good. Was really good, especially for €28. Now, if I compare those with the Vivo Barefoots, you've got a 0 gradient, which means your heel is exactly the same height as your toes within the shoe. And if we have a look at the toe box, the shape, it's much more square, it's much wider. Certainly never feel like my toes are being squished. And in fact, these Vivos are really good for helping your toes spread to their natural shape. Now, if I was to go for a run in these, and I'll talk to you a little bit about my personal opinions, if I was to go for a run with these, it would be comfortable enough for me on soft ground. And it would be comfortable for about 1 kilometer, 2 kilometers. After 3, I'd be getting really tired and feeling it on hard surface, i.e. running on roads. So what do I like the different shoes for? I want to be really, personal about this. This is my views. I wear Vivo Barefoots about 80% of the time to training. All things animal flow, calisthenics, weightlifting, and I do everything else in them as well. Basically, I've got a nicer pair that I can wear when I go to the shops, to the office, etc, etc. I feel that the daily comfort of wearing them is far superior. I actually really enjoy wearing them. They feel amazing. You do have a greater sensitivity to the floor, which is wonderful as well. It just, you're more alive and more aware of where you're stepping, what you're stepping on. Because of the lower position to the floor, it does a few things for your posture. It really helps you align. Because your feet is flat, your whole body can then stack appropriately. And if your heels raised like a traditional trainer, your knees, hips, they may have to compensate to keep you straight. And this is, I think, a part of the general global problem we see with poor posture. And barefoots are incredibly good for your foot health. They help strengthen your feet. As I talked about earlier, they help widen the base of your feet, which gives you more support and more stability. You're far less likely to turn an ankle. In fact, I've not turned an ankle since wearing them, which has been for more than 5 years. And I did used to do that, not regularly, but semi-regularly in different sports. I personally don't enjoy running in Vivo Barefoots. As I've said, 80% of the time I will wear them, with that 20% of the time for things like weddings, things like nights out where I'm wearing shoes or trainers that look great, or if I'm running. And I wanted to go to Decathlon and buy these pair of shoes to do my running, because I find personally running with trainers to be a lot more comfortable and a lot more freeing. I'm worrying less about how my feet feel. I'm certainly never getting the the same amount of impact going through my joints. At least that's how it feels, and it allows me to go further. And typically I want to be running for more than 3 to 5k, which is what I can get away with really in the Vivos at this point in time. I typically find that wearing Vivos 80% of the time gives me really the benefits that I've spoken about: the strong feet, the good posture. And with regards to running, good technique. When we're running, we want to be really nice and tall, which is the same as normal posture, all right? And we want to be landing with our foot underneath our body on the front half of the foot, okay? So from the balls of your feet onwards to the toes, rather than what we often see in these trainers with big soles, where we'll land on the heel and roll our foot forwards. If I was to ask you to pause the video and do some high knees on the spot, I know you'd all be doing it from the balls of your feet and toes. And I know none of you would be landing on your heels, because that would really hurt. Now, if you did that, obviously with really cushioned shoes, you could get away with it. But if you run like that regularly, you see loads of joint trouble, and Chloe and I are pretty great at fixing those problems within running, but ankles, knees, hips, back, shoulders, neck, it takes a real hit. So I find personally, doing my everyday life and my normal training in my Vivos and understanding good running mechanics, I can then wear trainers, and I'm not running on my heels. I'm landing like so, all right, rather than landing like so. And I just find it's a much more comfortable way to go. Personally, it works for me. I really enjoy running, and I know when I've got a pair of shoes like that on, I'm good to go for as long as I would like to go for, which can be from 5 to half marathons and beyond. And that works for me personally. I think it's really important to take care of your feet. They are they have contact with the ground. The most important part of a car is its tires, because that's the only thing that can affect, the real thing that can affect where the car goes. And for us, especially as humans and when running, our feet are the most important thing. So I think it's really important to take care of them, to strengthen them, to get good posture and really good technique. And then for me, I think it's fine to wear the trainers. So hopefully that gives you a little bit of perspective of the whys for Vivo Barefoots, or Barefoots in general, and for running trainers. There's clearly a big cost difference. Super eco-friendly, sustainable, really trying to do a lot for the world. They even take their shoes back and recycle them, calling them Vivos. These €28 pair of shoes, most likely I'm pretty sure they're from China, are the opposite of that. And I understand those parts of it as well. It's a cheap pair. I don't believe, with regards to running trainers, the more expensive the pair, the better they are. In fact, I would go against getting arched insoles or all of these special things to help your feet. I would get your feet strong with Vivos and wear the trainers if you feel more comfortable doing so when you run. So I really hope that was helpful. Give you a clearer idea of when to wear what. And if you've got any questions, let me know.